Broken things can become a blessing if you let God do the mending. Welcome to Broken to be Blessed Network, where dynamic women will share their experiences that will inspire, and experiences that have turned out to be a blessing. Now here's your host, Samantha McNeil.
That brings me to the question, tell me what is your stand on being sexually active dating? You guys have maybe pick somebody. Okay, Akalia, I'm taking you, girl.
Wow. My standpoint in dating, from a Christian point of view, is to wait until the honeymoon night after you say your vows and all. But
Right.
with this word, enough people I said they know what by puts in a bag. But as a Christian,
Exactly.
so that's a big challenge, especially here in America, because they're not of that view, and the Christian population is not that big, so too, it's to find somebody that will agree with you that yes, the Bible does say to wait until the covenant, because that's where God respects it more than to be sexually active with everybody that you come in contact with, because they will tell you, oh yes, we'll eventually get married, and then they don't go for the long haul.
That's so true.
Ladies, anybody want to jump in?
No, I'm saying that's so true. The difference is that you have a certain set of beliefs, and then you're thinking probably because you're in church as well, that person will hold that same belief that you have. So you have to go in stating what you believe, and then that's why I'm saying that connection. You see where that person matches you, and from the get-go, if you see that that's not working out, okay, then bye. That's it, because it makes no sense you're gonna string the person along or they're gonna string you along. We both know what we believe and we hold what we hold. So we have to just part amicably, because this is something that I strongly believe in. And I'm not gonna force someone to hold my belief. It is what I believe, and I respect yours, but I might not agree with it. But okay, this is where it is. So I agree. It's different. It's very, very different.
Yes, and you realize that even in the church, there are lots of males who don't believe that they should get
me
no
about
pussy,
it.
no bag.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
And it can be one surprise, because for a lady, you're okay. This man is holy and anointed and powerful, and you think that he has it all together. He's true in the Bible leaves, and you said, yes. Oh, this one is part of the throne room of heaven.
So wonderful.
And then only to find to get close to him, he's saying that, babes, me I tell you, now wait, honeymoon, we can't wait.
Yeah.
We now buy no pussy in a bag. And it's like you turn your world upside down, because they're like, oh my God, seriously? And he's up there singing every day and preaching every day, and he's telling me this. I'm so hurt. So yes,
and then it brings you back to square one to wait for the next person.
Yes, and then when the next person come, I think sometimes what happen is like you have to, the next person be paying for the other person.
Resentment.
So there's this resentment and this wall that is up, like if you ever.
Okay, well, we shouldn't be having a bunch of walls, because again, so the foundation of what we should be following is the fact that we are Christians. Therefore, I forgive you. I'm sorry. I just forgive that you don't understand where I am, and that's why principles are so important. That's why having discover yourself. You know what you will and will not do. Now, I am going to tell you, I had sex before marriage. So I wasn't where I am today. So I'm going out in the dating game when we are finished. We get divorced. Okay, so what is Michelle gonna do? Am I gonna kind of conform to what society said I have to live with you before. As I sit here right now, I'm telling you that I'm pretty firm in what I believe as far as there is people that, there's a coach that I follow, and he is abstinent, and he is a good looking guy and he doesn't have sex. So there are guys that are willing to respect that. But I want you guys to understand, if you're a woman of God and you say you're a woman of God, be careful how you think you can bend your rules, because you're creating a place where you have trained the person to do. So when you get your husband and you compromise to sleep with him, and then he asks you to compromise further after you get married, you're like, why? But you sleep with him, right? So yes, it's very difficult in this society to not have sex before marriage. But what I think you should do while dating is use your time when you start courting the first 2 dates to kind of figure out where you are and kind of verbalize certain things during that time. You don't start the date like, I ain't having no sex. You don't do that, but you want to dig deep into the person. So what is your belief? So you're a Christian. What does that mean to be a Christian for you? Because everybody else, it means different things. At one point, I would go to a reggae party on Saturday and then go to church on Sunday. So where is it that the person is that you're actually saying that you're committed to Christ? Where is his commitment really to Christ? Is it measuring up with your commitment? Because you're like, I'm not gonna have sex. And he's like, well, I love God. I know all the scriptures I could, but guess what? We gotta do this stuff. We teach people how to train us. It's really important that you understand, even with your children, you teach them, you say, when I'm on the phone, you cannot interrupt me. That child knows that when you're on the phone, you cannot interrupt. And if they do interrupt, they know it's a consequence. So every time you break one of your primary principles to accommodate the person you're dating, you're also telling them you're willing to break other things down the road. And remember, respect is very important. So you're training them that, you know what, I always tell people, if you lie to me or if you steal from me and you justify and say, well, my kid needed the medicine, or whatever the reason is that you justify it, it makes perfect sense. Because if a mother steals medicine, you say, oh, she's a thief. But if you say she stole because her child needed the medicine, that's justifiable. It sounds good, right? But in the right opportunity, you're going to do that again, regardless. So it's just a matter of the right opportunity presenting itself for you to compromise. You have to stick to your principles, whatever they are. And you should discover that in the time when you're discovering yourself. And then so when you have your principles, you say, well, when I'm dating, you might see the guy pull out a cigarette and you're like, am I going to be able to live with smoking for the rest of my life? Hey, could you not do that right now? And then when you finish with the conversation or the date, you said, I don't think we can do this. And that's okay. But he might be great in all the ways. He might be absolutely, he has his degree, he makes good money, he has a house, his credit is excellent, but he just puffing away in your face. So are you able to live with that for the rest of your life? That's a question you're going to have to ask yourself. And I often tell, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, that point that you raised, and as we know that this is gonna go out, so it's not just for the audience that is here, but it's gonna go out to other single ladies and other ladies who are out there. And I think this is one of the biggest challenge that persons face, is that in the initial state, persons really don't understand that the things that they allow when they get into the relationship, it's very hard to come now and change it. And you'll find persons will say, oh, I get married and it changed. Does it really change? Or at first, certain things didn't really matter. But now that we are legally married and I'm now wife and husband, then I want to make some changes. And you realize that persons come up on great disappointment and issues. So it's really, really, really needed that persons make sure at the initial stage when they are dating or when they're courting that whatever they need, they just be frank and be upfront with it. Because wanting to change the rules of the game in the middle of the game is not something that normally goes down well.
It could cause a lot of problems in your relationship. So I see you ladies all with natural hair. I have natural hair. My husband, he loves a straight weave and all the good stuff. I don't mind trying on a weave every so often. I like my natural hair. I love my natural hair. I changed that in the middle of our relationship. But before I changed it, I spoke to him that he was over. And so I did. So when I started to have natural hair, it was a problem. He didn't find it as attractive as the straight hair, because society shows us that straight, long hair, we put all the weaves to make ourselves look that way because that's what is supposed to be attractive. But I find myself very attractive with my natural hair. Like Akalia hair, that's how my hair is. I twist it and I think, now this come about because of Corona. And now I like it because I could keep my hair without combing it. This is great. But something as simple as that, you start pressing your hair out and you go in on a date because you look so different and he's liking it. And then when you get married, then you want to pull out this natural hair by like, yo, what is wrong with you? And then you can't understand. You need to come as your authentic self, right? But when it comes to marriage, and when I speak to understand this, my husband not liking natural hair, I honestly was a little like, what's the word? Almost not caring, because I came to you, we had a discussion, it wasn't an overnight decision. Therefore, if you would be honest with me, then I would have considered it. But you told me, go do what makes you happy. Now, if a spouse is telling you that and then it's contrary afterwards, the best I could give you is like a hairstyle like this. I cannot tell you that I am not perming my hair ever again. So with a situation like that, that's why it's important to communicate. So you have to communicate. Communication is so important. And having these discussions before marriage helps to have those honest conversations. So what is it that you're expecting of me as a wife? What is it that you're expecting me as a husband? You should be telling each other what role you're expecting the other person to play in your life. So, babes, I like when you cook. And I'm like, babes, I like when you go and clean the garbage, wash the cars, whatever those things is. Or babes, I just want you to be home with the kids. Or babes, we're gonna work, both of us working, so we both gotta work together to get the house maintained. Whatever those things are, if you have gotten to the stage where you're considering taking it to that level of engagement, you need to have that conversation. You need to start mapping out what it is me to be a wife, and if that matches with what your partners say. So a guy might say, my wife, he might have a woman that is great. She does everything. She takes care of the home. She works. She's great in bed. She takes care of the kids. And he's like, that's not what's important to me. I want to be out every night. And she's like, but I'm like an absolutely great wife. Everyone would say that. Well, I would ask you to try and find out what it is for your partner when they say what they want a wife to be. What does your wife look like to you? Because he might say, I want her Bayford and then the house. And you're like, wrong girl. But if you don't have those conversations before stepping into it, you can actually add to the conflicts. Marriage is hard by itself. You don't need to add that to it. Now, you guys could shoot questions to me,
Something that I always say, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always say I want to see that person at their worst, so I can see if I can deal with it. And I want them to see me at my worst to see if they can deal with it, because I don't want to change anybody, and I certainly don't want anybody to change me. There's a difference between compromise and change. but I want to see. So let me decide, is this something I can work with? Let him decide, is this something he can work with? And then we'll know, yes, it is. So we can take it from there. Because I think a lot of times what I notice with friends and other things, they don't show their worst. Because you want to get married, you show the best part of you. And then when they get married and then they're like, who is this person? Oh, I didn't see this side before. And they're like, everybody is shocked. And I think that is what I realized, because there's a lot of problems in marriages.
Okay, so to answer that question, I don't know that when you say to see the worst in the person, I don't know that, but that's the right term I would say. But here's what I would say. Why it's important, you can reach a person, you could connect with them, and you're just like, oh, he just give me all that feeling. That's so great. Okay, that connection is great, and you could say that guy is gonna be my husband, or that woman's gonna be my wife. And that's great, but what is important, where time gets important is that that reveals the person, because I can't keep, if I walk on one leg, I can keep walking on two legs. If I use to one leg, I'm gonna put that relationship for 2 years and they never get upset, because I would be a little concerned if she had never gotten upset. There's some point you're going to see how they handle being upset, how they handle receiving critique, how they handle failure. Now, those are the things that you need to pay attention to. That's when you're in the classroom on your partner. So one of the big things that I believe in is culture. And some people don't, but I believe in culture because that's something I study. And culture is so important and so impactful. People think of culture as, oh, Jamaican culture. Well, Jamaican have a culture, yes, but that Jamaican culture is broken down in neighborhoods. It's broken down in households, because there's people in Jamaica might be living right next to you that don't have the same home culture as the person right next to them. So what does your home culture look like? Is it that my parents are, when they talk to each other, they're cussing each other out, they're just throwing down stuff and whatever? Or you see your parents, they have a disagreement, you see them actually discussing it. Do you see your parents budgeting? These are things that impact kids. Don't matter what you tend to believe. You might say, oh, that doesn't impact me, but it's going to impact you in this way. You either mimic what you saw, go to the other extreme, or pick from it and create your own. But it will impact you. So the culture within your home is really important. And I want to see what his culture looked like. I personally came from a home that I have never heard a curse word in my entire life from my parents. But my husband came from a place that's all the words he heard. So when I heard the first profanity, I'm like, oh, you cannot speak to me like that. But I was already in there, right? Like, but if I had dated and discovered, I'd be like, whoa, then I could have been like, well, this is not for me because this guy is just like, but we have to give time. Your connection or knowing that that's the guy for you or that that's the woman for you doesn't need to be determined. You feel that, but the time is where you get to know the person. You get to vet the person. We do not put in a judge in the superior court without vetting. They go through a rigorous vetting. Why don't we vet our spouses? Well, you can vet in the way of you go to his house, you go to his family house, he clean up for you when you come over, but then he can't keep cleaning up if you keep visiting if that's not his style. At some point, oh man, it just was this, and you start hearing the explanation for his dirtiness. But then you find out that he's really nasty, right? You go to his mom's house and you see how his dad is talking to his mom. Well, women tend to see. I always give this example. So you're dating a guy and he takes you home to meet his family. And you had dinner, it's a great atmosphere, just beautiful people. You're just like, oh my gosh, this is the guy I want to be with. His family's awesome. But when they clear the table, the dad and the mom is in the kitchen, and you see him holding the mom arm a little too tight. And you can see from the conversation that it looks a little too stern. Most women will go, that can't be me. That's the problem. It could very well be you, because you can't determine it unless you actually speak to it. So there was a woman that's going to say, that can't be me. And then there's a woman going to say, hey, after dinner, I saw your dad and he was like grabbing on your mom. I just want to let you know that kind of atmosphere I'm not used to. That can be our culture. And right away, you just taught him that, okay, well, wait, whenever I'm upset, I can, pull that one out. Now it's going to take time for him to realign himself to, I can't do that, or I can't do this. But if you don't speak to it and you pretend it doesn't happen, you are allowing it to happen because you don't know what's going to come out in the right situation. It might take him to lose his job to react that way. Maybe it may take him, I don't know, whatever it is, it could be his breaking point. But if you want to know that. Do you get that?
Oh yes, it's so true. So true.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, do you guys know what is it that you're looking for in a spouse?
I'd like to think so.
Okay, let me hear what you say you're looking for in a spouse.
First of all, I want someone who strongly believes in God's influence in his life. So it's not necessarily someone who is Christian, but as someone who believes that God plays a role in his life and he's willing to move towards that. That's first and foremost for me. Someone who believes in communicating, having open dialogue, discussing things, because I like to discuss, as Samantha knows, and overly discuss and overanalyze things.
If you like
but
me.
can listen, and who I'll be able to listen to and look up to and think that, okay, this person is my head because he's following God's principle. So I think if I follow that line, everything else should come into play. If that person sees God as their head, and then I'll see that person, okay, that person is my head. So that's what I'm looking for.
I have a question. When you say he must be involved, he must love God, but he doesn't necessarily have to be a Christian, what does that mean?
I'm meaning that he doesn't have to be. Well, let me explain that. There are different levels of Christian, if we can say yes. But there are persons who are in the church, not necessarily are Christians, but
Absolutely.
they're in the church. You understand what I'm saying? So I want somebody who is not just Christian for saying.
Oh, you mean a quote?
Yes.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Say the quotation mark. Yes. So that's what I mean. Not just to say, oh, I'm a Christian.
Okay, not in words.
Oh,
okay,
no.
and behavior.
That would have been totally contradictory.
I just wanted to make sure.
Air quote Christian.
Okay, anyone else? What's your characteristics you're looking for?
Well, for me. Oh, Akalia?
Yeah, I'll just go. For me, what I'm looking for is somebody that's open to communication, because communication plays a big part in anything. Just like how you have to communicate with God, you want to communicate with someone. You don't just want you going in one side doing your own thing, he's doing his own thing. You need to know what's going on, as we will become one. And also I need them to, respect me and respect what I do and bring to the table as well.
Okay. So I think you must add one thing very important is to be a good match for your daughter.
Yes.
As a woman who has a child, it's very important for you to find a guy that you feel safe and that you feel safe to have your daughter around, that he doesn't have to replace her dad, but he needs to be able to take the role on in the home as a male. So definitely need to add that. But how come you didn't mention Christ? Is that not a factor?
Well, that's a factor, but Sancia did. I was saying I was adding to her list.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I didn't hear that. Sorry. Sorry. I'm like, oh, you can have a lot of those without Christ. Absolutely. Okay, Taya?
Yes, for me, the number one main thing I'm looking for in a spouse is that person should be God-fearing. They love God with a passion. Another thing is that another quality they should have is that they're faithful, they're committed, they're respectable, hardworking, have that sense of humor. And there's so many I'm thinking about as well, but that's just a few mentioned.
Okay, so just so the shorter the list, the better. And here's what I mean. I am glad I didn't hear tall, and he needs to be dark, and he needs to be light, and he needs to, those super
Abs.
I was like, oh my gosh, don't let me hear that at all. I didn't want to hear that, right? Those are all superficial things. Now, don't for a second think negating the fact that he needs to be attractive, because attraction is something that's very important in a relationship. You do want to be attracted, and if he comes with his stomach hanging on the ground and like hygiene, it's all the qualities that you mentioned, but nothing ain't happening, right? So I'm not negating the fact that he needs to be attractive. He needs to have that connection with you that you can, you feel that so excited when he's around. He doesn't need to be just great on paper. Well, he love God, and like he got a good job, and because you set yourself up for trouble.
Yeah,
You're definitely setting you want to have that connection. Now, when you have those, when I say I think your list should be really short. Tell you, it's really important that it's lengthy, because when you on a website and you're looking for a house, you say 3 bedroom, 300 houses, 6 bathroom, 1 house, two. Every time you put in one of those criteria, kind of close you down to where you're just now you have one choice, and that one might come with a bulging eyeball. I don't know, but my point is, pick 3 to 5 really solid things that are important to you, that are non-negotiables. Like, he has to be a God-fearing man. That is not negotiable. He needs to be a hardworking man, because you know what? I need a provider, and I need some partner that works just as hard as I do. Okay. What else did I hear you saying? Oh, somebody that would care and love my child, that I feel safe or to have my daughter around, right? That is good communicator, that we can have a discussion about something that we both disagree on, but still sit there and have that conversation without anybody yelling it back and forth, and somebody saying something that is so derogatory to you, and have to say sorry and all that stuff. So some really, I don't want your list to go past this, because then I think you start weeding out a lot of, could be really good guys. But the ones that are important, you see, when you have a connection with someone, and then that person happens to be God-fearing, and then that person's hardworking, it's like, Okay, so he doesn't wash cars. I mean, like, I don't care. I wash my own car. I'll pay for it till we wash. You start saying, I could definitely work with that, right? Then I got 3. But if you're like 1, 2, 3, you got 10 things, it's tough. And think about yourself. If he started thinking about you, she has to be a nurse, because you know in the Caribbean nursing is a big thing. She has to be a nurse. She has to have natural hair. Your hair is perm, straight as ever. She has to, and then he just eliminated you, and you could have been the perfect girl for him. So you need to narrow what is it that is really your non-negotiables. Oh, I definitely don't, so I was in Home Depot and I met this lady, really awesome lady, and I was like super excited. I'm like, I don't even know anyone in Dallas that, that just got here. And I'm like, oh, she's cool, we jiving, right? And then she's like, we were talking about Kanye West, and she said that he was going to be at Joe Osteen's church, and a lot of people didn't support him, and she doesn't care because people talk about he cursed, but she cursed. Peter cursed. If Peter can curse, why can't I curse? I was like, all right, there.
Not your cup of tea.
Cursor. So I personally cannot be around that. Okay, gotcha. So I cannot personally say I would go into a new relationship consciously knowing that a person has a foul mouth and say, oh, that's okay, I'm going to justify it. So I was saying closing. There are some very important things when you're dating that you need to understand. Understand you need to find yourself first, especially saying that you are a God-fearing woman. You really need to cement who you are in Christ, because that is going to determine how you date. And there is a purpose for dating. If you want to have friends, then don't. You all hang out. You have a platonic relationship with a male, but if it's just friendship, right? So know who you are in Christ. Find your principles that are non-negotiable, and make sure you always find a person who can communicate. You need to know how to communicate and communicate effectively. I'm screaming, you're screaming over me, we can't get anything done. Also, you need to know, as a single one, how to negotiate for you. What that means is that you need to speak on your behalf. Think about Christ going to God and talking on our behalf. That is what you need to do. Have your strength to say, this is what Michelle, I speak in third person. This is what Michelle wants. This is what Michelle don't want. But that's me negotiating for me. And whatever relationship you find, if you think that relationship can go somewhere, steward it. You know how God asks you to tithe 10%? Then you need to make sure you're stewarding your relationship by just tithe is to not to God need your money, is because he's giving you a principle and a discipline to say you're going to do. Take care of his church. Take care of the person that you're saying you want to be your spouse. And in closing, I enjoy talking to you guys. I wish I could chat more. If you ever have any questions, I am on Instagram at Our Life's Moments. Follow me. I have a live every Monday, and everything is focused around relationships. So it was great.
It was great listening to you
It
and
was a
sharing.
pleasure meeting you.
That's some useful tips.
Well, good. I
Yes,
hope so.
it was a great pleasure meeting you as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wouldn't
You're
mind
welcome.
doing this again. And I know you guys will loosen up a little bit more knowing me better, because I think somebody is a little quiet. She's gonna go and look and talk to her daughter and tell her, when I'm on the phone, you should be quiet. But it was a
Just
pleasure.
whisper like, how many more minutes?
Oh my God.
Actually, I want to add one thing. Understand that the culture dynamics coming from a Caribbean background is really, really important. And you have to dissect that to understand how you date, especially being in a different environment. It's really good.
That's true.
Well, it was a really pleasure, Samantha. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed it. I always love speaking to women. That's what I think God have me here for.
Amen. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you very much for being here. And it's just so fun. Have us laughing from ear to ear. Thank you, ladies, for being here on Broken to Be Blessed Network. Fine, husbands, I want to come to weddings. I'll go get my singing voice. I'll go get my singing voice ready so that I'll be able to come and sing. And I like to dress up, so if I don't do anything, once I get to come and I take a pic with you, I'm fine. So every time it's your birthday or anniversary, I have that to share. The wedding pic with me and you. So yes, I wish all of you will get married. Not very too long. Although it's Corona time and it makes it simpler, easier for persons not to spend any money because not much people can go. So I really don't want too soon, but soon enough. All right. Well, thank you again, ladies, for being here and for sharing on this network. Thanks again, and have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks, viewers. If you have not yet liked, share, and subscribe, please do so because you don't want to miss all this fun. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.